Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kircha. Coming up in today's newscast, the Israeli government is stepping up its efforts to prevent the coronavirus from spreading into Israel.
Israel prepares to annex the Jordan Valley despite the Palestinian Authority's protests.
And we may be able to tell you who's going to win the Oscars before they even happen. All thanks to one Jewish man.
Good news on the front against the coronavirus epidemic. The virus is finally starting to stabilize, and that means that slowly but surely, global quarantine efforts are working to stem the spread of the disease.
But the bad news is that according to the World Health Organization in Geneva, there's still a long way to go. And Israel is now stepping up its efforts.
We're all in this together, and we can only stop it together. So the rule of the game is solidarity, solidarity, solidarity. But we see this missing in many corners.
The virus has now reached over 800 in China alone, mostly in the Hubei province, where the outbreak first began. And this officially makes coronavirus more deadly than the outbreak of SARS in the early 2000s. But roughly 32,000 people and counting, including some Israelis, are still infected globally, prompting massive citywide closures and difficult de facto quarantines for tens of millions of people. But the WHO supports this dramatic response.
If it weren't for China's efforts, the number of cases outside China would have been very much higher.
Well, Israel is among the many countries cooperating in these quarantine efforts. In fact, the Israeli Health Ministry is even now expanding its list of red flag countries to include Hong Kong, Thailand, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, and Macau. So any Israeli travelers returning from these locations within the last 14 days and who are suffering from any health issues at all must now report for immediate medical treatment and testing.
In addition, anyone who has come in contact with a confirmed coronavirus patient must go in for testing, and all potential patients are asked to wear a mask, avoid public transportation, and warn the hospitals early of their arrival.
This epidemic is really, I mean, just hearing about the lack of masks now that exist, I think Israel has run out of masks.
Yeah.
So, even here, we're kind of seeing that effect. All right, moving on. In just a short time, Israel will produce detailed maps of the nation's future borders, and these borders will include the Jordan Valley and all Israeli settlements in Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank, in accordance with the United States peace plan. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu is claiming that U.S. President Donald Trump will support Israel in its plans to annex.
ישראל תזכה לגיבוי אמריקני על החלת החוק הישראלי בבקעת הירדן ובצפון ים המלח ועל כל היישובים היהודים ביהודה ושומרון, כולם בלי יוצא מן הכלל, מעלה אדומים, מבוא יריחו, מה שאתם רוצים, הכל, כולם, הכל כלול, קטן, גדול, הכל.
But while the United States plan does include these territories, White House senior advisor Jared Kushner is clarifying that it will take at least a couple of months to draw up such complicated maps. It also remains unclear whether Israel is coordinating this mapping project with the United States. And even if there is coordination, the question is, will that matter? The Palestinian Authority has already rejected the United States' deal of the century, which requires negotiated settlements on final borders.
And joining us now to expand on the Middle East's ongoing reactions to the United States peace plan, we have Dr. Martin Sherman, the founder and executive director of the Israel Institute for Strategic Studies. So first, let's talk about these annexations. How feasible is it that Netanyahu can and will annex anything anytime soon?
Well, I think it should have been annexed a long time ago. I think it's just a matter of political resolve and will in Israel to do it, especially the areas that you're talking about, which exclude the major Arab population centers. So I think that Netanyahu should go ahead and do it. I remind the viewers that the annexation or the extension of Israeli law to the Golan was unilateral, and the unification of Jerusalem was unilateral as well.
But how can he annex anything right now if the Palestinians are rejecting this outright and the U.S. isn't necessarily approving these immediate plans?
Well, as I say, no one approved the Golan, and there was great American anger at the Golan issue, and we've got now a far more amenable administration in Washington, and I think at least the Jordan Valley should be annexed now before the election, because after the elections you don't know who's going to win and you don't know what coalition partners there would be, and I think that the annexation basically will take any serious Palestinian state off the table.
Well, so again, though, going back to the United States' response, because you touched on that for a second. Ambassador Friedman is now warning Israel against unilateral annexation in Judea and Samaria, the Jordan Valley, and north of the Dead Sea. So,
right, which interestingly, you also just said that annexing would take the future of a Palestinian state off the table completely, which is perhaps
well, it's better
why...
than taking the future of Israel off the table, because that's what a Palestinian state means.
Well, not under the Trump peace plan.
Sorry?
I mean, under the Trump peace plan, they would have a state side by side.
Yeah, but in this universe, Palestinians would never agree to the kind of Palestinian state under the Trump parameters. I don't think they could even do it. For instance, how are they going to disarm the Hezbollah and the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad?
Might there be any sort of reprisal from the United States in any way if Israel were to unilaterally annex?
I would be surprised if there would be a serious reprisal against Israel. I would be surprised if there would be any serious reprisal against Israel. And I think anyway we've withstood U.S. pressure in the past before. With Kissinger and Rogers, with the Golan as well. So we've withstood. With Obama, we had 8 years of a very hostile administration in the White House, and we've withstood it. I think when Israel makes its intentions clear and backs it up with political resolve, I think eventually, no matter how unpleasant it is, we get through it.
All right. Well, we're going to have to see how this plays out. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Sherman.
All right, now it feels like deja vu for a country already scarred by the scandal of Nama Yissachar's imprisonment in Russia. But Israeli President Rivlin is now asking for clemency on behalf of another Israeli jailed in Peru this time over alleged drug smuggling charges. Here's what happened. 24-year-old Israeli Hodaya Monsanego, a resident of Chof Ashkelon, is in trouble. What began as an innocent trip with a friend has now become an ongoing fight for freedom, and her family insists that not only is she innocent, but that she's mentally impaired and was likely exploited as a drug mule. Well, Israeli President Rivlin is now asking for her pardon on account that she is not of sound mind and likely innocent. According to reports, the story started with a trip with a friend and her friend's family to Madrid. But after a week and a half in Spain, Monsanego suddenly found herself cut off from her family back in Israel and on a flight bound for Lima, Peru. You see, Monsanego's friend Smadar allegedly took her there on orders from her ex-brother-in-law to allegedly bring back some luggage into Israel. But perhaps little did they know that that luggage contained 20 kilos of cocaine. Well, of course, all parties are denying all charges, but Monsanego and Smadar are still in prison, and they have been for 6 months. Again, Sister Teila explains, though, that while Monsanego is 24, she's not really 24, saying that we have to imagine that right now, in jail in a foreign country and far away from home, is a 12 to 13-year-old girl. So with understanding and support, the family hopes that she'll be freed as soon as possible.
Well, it looks like Major League Baseball is taking a stand against music artist Roger Waters. Now, the frontman of the world-famous rock band Pink Floyd has come under fire for his anti-Israel rhetoric and advocacy for the BDS movement. And now it looks like he may have taken it a step too far.
Major League Baseball has now decided that it will no longer schedule any advertising that promotes Roger Waters' upcoming performances. The move comes after the Jewish advocacy group B'nai Brit International sent a letter to Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred, criticizing the MLB's involvement in ticket sales for the Pink Floyd frontman. Waters is a blatant supporter of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel, which the Israeli government claims is aiming to delegitimize a nation and ultimately wipe it off the map. The musician has even compared Israelis to aliens in a bizarre rant to try and get the world to boycott the Eurovision event, which was held in Israel last May. Well, B'nai Brit says Waters' views on Jews and Israel far exceed the boundaries of civil discourse, and that his shows simply shouldn't be promoted by MLB. Clearly, the baseball world is heeding their call because MLB has confirmed that they are no longer among the organizations sponsoring his ticket sales.
Now, speaking of support for Israel, a new survey by the Ruderman Family Foundation now reveals that over 80% of American Jews consider themselves pro-Israel. But over half of those same respondents also hold critical views over some or many Israeli policies. Well, joining us to break down the meaning of these results is Rabbi Avi Berman, Executive Director with OU Israel. First of all, thank you so much for being with us. Now, what do you make of these results?
What I make of the results are, first of all, it's great news, right? Everybody's constantly talking about this drift and, people not agreeing with Israel, etc. And the beauty is that we get to see the beautiful Jewish heart that loves Israel, cares about Israel, and wants to be part of Israel, okay? Yes, I think that we're looking at the world today and everybody's, involved politically, and I agree with him or disagree with him. And that, doesn't skip over Israel, and everybody's, looking at what's happening in Israel and agreeing or disagreeing. But one thing is very clear from the study, and that is the more people get involved, okay, in Jewish organizations in North America, as well as visit Israel, okay, their interest in Israel, their heart is with Israel, their involvement is with Israel, they're coming to Israel, etc., and they're promoting more and more pro-Israel organizations, pro-Israel activity, etc.
So they identify more, and then they kind of inject themselves into the story.
But at the same time, we are seeing that very high statistic saying that a lot of these respondents who are pro-Israel are very critical of Israeli policy and the government itself. Where do you think that is coming from?
I think that's coming from a great place. It's called democracy. I think it's beautiful that people have the ability to stand up and say, listen, we agree or we disagree, right? In the past, people used to say, whatever Israel does is fine. And to a certain degree, that is great when you have that. But at the end of the day, if we want people to really care about Israel, we want people to be involved in Israel, we also want them to voice their opinion, right? And the only way we're going to get people to be actively involved in Israel is if we want to hear their opinion as well.
All right, so speaking of that, there are a lot of Israelis especially who say, diaspora Jews, we love them, they're our family, but they're there and we're here. Why should we listen to them?
So I don't think that they should be voting or making decisions in Israel, whether we should go to war, whether we should be sending our soldiers into Gaza or not into Gaza. Okay, that's
issues
not for them.
Issues of national import.
Correct. Okay, but when it comes to them voicing their opinion about clear Jewish desires of what's happening here, they have the right to voice their opinion, and then the Israeli public could choose whether they're voting this way or voting that way. That is that is very clear. But I think that the state of Israel really has to identify that the younger generation is less aware of what's happening here in Israel, okay? And we have to do so much more to get them to be connected to the state of Israel, to get them to be involved.
And that's what your programming does, right?
So if you look at what the OU is doing with NCSY, with Birthright, Israel for Free Spirit, doing with Yachad, all these different programs that we have, bringing thousands of teenagers to Israel every single year. The beauty is that we're connecting them through the heart to the state of Israel, okay? So people,
and the earlier the better.
People say Birthright is great, but something, 18 is too late, right? If we didn't get them till 18, Birthright is phenomenal, okay? But at the end of the day, NCSY is working with teenagers, high school, and connecting them before they're even off to college and hearing all this negativity about Israel. Let's connect them at a young age.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Rabbi.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, now, Harry Potter is one of my favorite book series of all time. I truly believe that every child, and quite honestly, adult, should have the luxury of taking part in this magical reading experience. And clearly, I'm not the only one, right, Aaron? No. As of Friday, the first book in the Harry Potter series is now available in Yiddish, the historical language of the Ashkenazi Jews.
So just to give some background, though, on this life-changing fantasy series, Harry Potter chronicles the life of a young wizard, Harry Potter, and his friends as they attend the magical Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The main story arc, of course, is Harry's struggle to overthrow Voldemort, or He Who Must Not Be Named, a dark wizard who wants to become immortal by basically destroying the world.
Since the release of the first novel, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, these books have come to be considered a cornerstone of modern young adult literature with massive critical acclaim and commercial success. In fact, over 500 million copies of the books have been sold worldwide, and now it looks like they're finally available in Yiddish. Yiddish is spoken by hundreds of thousands of people around the world today, primarily in Israel, parts of Europe, and the United States.
And it was actually Swedish publisher Olnjanski Text Förlag that released the book in Yiddish first, since Yiddish happens to be an official language in Sweden.
Yeah, that's a fun fact. Well, I'm just glad that another group of young people are going to have the chance to enjoy this incredible series.
Absolutely.
And so many years after the books came out, so.
They're timeless.
Good
and
news.
Everyone should have them.
Good news.
Yeah. Moving on, we view health insurance as a necessity for everyone in our family members, but how about our pets? Well, the Israeli company Lemonade is now going to be offering pet insurance in the United States to make sure that our furry family members also receive the love and care that they need. Isn't that great, Natasha?
You're so happy about
that.
that.
I am really happy about that. Now, most people think of their pets as family members, so why don't we always take care of them in the same way that we do our family members? Well, that's exactly the question that the Israeli insurance company Lemonade is now asking the public. And it's also the reason that they've just announced that they will begin offering pet insurance in the United States. For now, the line is exclusively for cats and dogs, and it's expected to launch in a few months' time. But today, Lemonade uses behavioral economics, artificial intelligence, and chatbots to deliver renters and homeowners insurance policies starting at just $5 a month. So it will certainly be exciting to see what their pet insurance offers for our fuzzy little friends.
I'm definitely getting pet insurance when it comes to Israel. Let's be honest. All right, in other news this month, the world is marking International Cancer Awareness Day. And Israel is, of course, participating by showing off just a fraction of the dozens of discoveries and treatments in the field of oncology. Well, ILTV's Nittany Manson has the details.
So how has the Jewish state been fighting cancer? Well, in light of World Cancer Awareness Day, Israel has now published a video breaking down the top 5 Israeli discoveries that are giving hope to patients around the world. First up, we have Velcade, a targeted chemotherapy, and it's already been approved by the FDA for treatment of multiple myeloma and mantle cell lymphoma, which are 2 cancers that primarily affect white blood cells. In fact, the World Health Organization even lists it as an essential medicine for any health system. Next is IceCure, Medi-Cal's ProSense system, which focuses on cryoablation, or using freezing liquid nitrogen to destroy tumors without needing surgery. IceCure has proven itself to be an effective treatment for benign and malignant tumors that may appear all over the body, and it's already approved by the FDA. Third on the list, we have the discovery of the RAD51 gene, and how mutations to this gene can actually lead to breast cancer. And while this isn't a treatment in itself, it does pave the way for early detection methods. And finally, last 2 on the list are a new bone marrow transplant technique that greatly expands the donor pool for patients on the waiting list, and Doxil, another advanced chemo drug. But Doxil is the first drug that directly applies itself to tumors, thanks to the unique way the drug is encapsulated. Now, these are just some of the many, many ways that Israeli research and development are helping make cancer a thing of the past.
And now it's Valentine's Day just around the corner, which means that it's probably time to start thinking about what kind of gift you want to get for your loved ones. Isn't that right, Natasha?
That is very right, Aaron. You should start thinking about it. In fact, the Israeli cosmetics company Jade has just launched a new beauty collection that might just include the perfect present for your loved one. And joining us now is Jade's international beauty relations consultant Inbal Buskila. So tell us about the new selfie line, the selfie collection that you guys have. I hear it's good for Valentine's Day.
Definitely. So we have launched an amazing new collection, which has an amazing, beautiful Jade Selfie lipstick line. We have this new blush line and eyeshadow line. The lipsticks, I just have to say, is really unique formula. The consistency is amazing. It goes on in one swipe, and it has the argan oil inside, which means that it nourishes your lips while wearing your beautiful
color. So it's kind
color.
of like having lip balm on at the same time.
It feels like the lip balm, but you just have the beautiful setting of lipstick, and you're nurturing your lips at the same time, which is
the best deal you could have.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
and I'm sure you can see how many different shades of lipsticks we have here. Every single woman could find themselves in this range
these are all
of
very
colors.
natural colors, like
Definitely. So when you want to bring your wife a present, you have the perfect present here. Yes, exactly. I'm sure she's gonna love me after the show.
She already does, yeah.
And I wanted to talk about this amazing selfie blush duet. You have a bronzer, a blush, and a shimmer highlighter. And as every woman would love to have is a beautiful mirror that you can just do it in the car, because we're such busy women today, you know?
Of course.
The last thing in the collection will be this amazing eyeshadow palette, again with this huge, beautiful mirror that says Jade in its selfie. You can see it over here. It's a beautiful packaging.
Wow. I absolutely love all these colors.
No, these colors are just natural colors, and you can go with these bronzy, glowy, glittery shadows, and then we have the matte. So actually you can go from a very everyday look to a night sexier look and more smoky.
So what is your recommendation in terms of choosing one of these products to get as a gift on Valentine's Day, for those of us who still don't know what to do?
No,
I would actually say, listen very well. I would actually say choose 1 or 2 colors. I'll give you one tip. If you want to know what color to choose for your wife, go on your pictures and look at what she's wearing on the photos. Try and get to the closest color you can get. So choose 2 lipsticks, okay? And then choose one of these amazing blush palette, the eyeshadow.
Everything.
Two of her favorite colors, one of these amazing blush duet, and then an eyeshadow palette, and she'll love you. It's going to be the most perfect Valentine ever.
You could even get one as a gift for your anchor.
Exactly.
Your work wife.
Exactly.
You know?
All right, well, as I understand it, we can get all these products internationally on jadecosmetics.com.
Exactly.
And they ship
on our
in 2 to 3
website,
days,
and our
right?
website is really friendly, and it ships between 2 to 3 days, depending where you are in the States, all over the world, actually.
Amazing. So you guys have ample time to get a nice gift for your loved one. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, now what if we told you that there's a man out there that can pretty accurately predict who is going to win at this year's Academy Award ceremony, and it's actually all based on a mathematical model? Well, there apparently is, and everybody is talking about him here in Israel. ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh has more details.
Hey guys, so a 26-year-old Jewish Philadelphia native man named Ben Zausmer has been making Oscar predictions since 2012, and it's crazy, but he's never really that far off. Just as an example, back in 2012, he predicted that the silent French film The Artist would win Best Picture, and was proven right, considering The Artist took home 5 Oscars that year, including Best Picture.
All right, but that could have been weird coincidence, could have been luck.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but then I read a little bit more into Zausmer, and he's legit. During his day-to-day, he's a baseball analyst for the LA Dodgers, where he uses math to identify strong players that his team could potentially acquire. And then for his Hollywood predictions, he earned himself an annual column in the Hollywood Reporter.
So what is he predicting for this year's Oscars?
So for Best Picture, he predicts will be the film 1917, which is about World War I, and was made to seem as if the whole movie was actually filmed in one shot. He predicts that the Best Director award will go to Sam Mendes for 1917 as well, and according to his math, Renee Zellweger will get Best Actress for the movie Judy, and then Best Actor will go to apparently Joaquin Phoenix.
Interesting.
Understandable.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make sense. Joker, he was amazing in the Joker. So how does this work exactly? Because it does sound a little bit sketchy.
Right. So it's interesting because Zausmer grew up in a Reformed Jewish family and says that the way he approaches religion is also useful to the way that he approaches statistics. He doesn't simply accept anything, but to actually either prove or disprove it to himself. He says that his data set includes anything about movies that he can put a number on. So basically, if a director wins the Directors Guild Award, for example, during that season, or a high score on the sites like Rotten Tomatoes, he or she has a solid chance of winning an Oscar for Best Director. And weirdly enough, his predictions back in 2018 were almost 100% right. 20 out of the 21 categories that he put into his model were correct.
All right, well, first of all, that's insane that he was almost 100% correct. He's clearly doing something right, but it's interesting to me that he connects this with religion, his approach with religion.
Well, I'm excited to see if what he says is going to come true this year. And
I'm
now
sure he will.
I want to check out the full Hollywood Reporter report that he did to get the rest of the
maybe
details.
We should be watching films based on his predictions as well. I mean, if they're that amazing.
That would make sense. All right, Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be partly cloudy and cold with lows of about 40 or just 4 degrees Celsius. Wow. And then tomorrow you can expect more clouds and cold, but with a chance of morning showers and a high of around 52 or 11 degrees Celsius. Now, before we go, let's take a look at what is going viral in Israel.
יא מניאק! אתה באמא שלך! I love it.
That is an example. That is an example of how crazy people get when they're driving in Israel and how much fun it is to get involved in the craziness.
Road rage at its finest, I suppose.
So apparently, I guess this American man came to Israel and took the road rage in Israel as his excuse to take out
as his own,
all of his own acre, and he says he loved it, so good for him.
Well, you can tell. And that is it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.43 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube and Roku TV pages. I'm Aaron Porras.
And I'm Natasha Kirchuk. Thanks for watching.